Okay, so pretty much every day, or at least every month nowadays, has some kind of theme, and April has somehow been deemed Autism Month. Now, I was only diagnosed with autism in January, but I'd known for a long time that I was a little different, there was something going on. But it took me till being 40 to actually get a diagnosis. And the thing that I really think most people need to get about autism is the term autism spectrum. Basically, there's not one thing that's autistic. You can't take a checklist and put it against somebody and go, oh yes, they're autistic. Traits of autism are far and wide and different, and if you meet one autistic person, their traits and signals and things they do are going to be completely different to another person. There's as much variety and difference as there is in any two people you pick out in the street. You'll hear all kind of stuff like people with autism are incapable of empathy, or that people with autism struggle to escape their own autism and need help, or that people with autism all have obsessive tics, that people with autism can't learn without intense behavioural modification, or that people with autism are intellectually disabled and can't advocate for themselves. Well, some of this might be true in the case of people who are extremely autistic. They might struggle to get along in day-to-day life without help, but then there is absolutely shed loads of autistic people who are just as, if not more capable than other people. Basically, autism means your brain works slightly differently. And how slightly differently and in what way varies massively from person to person. Somebody can have autism and go on to do all sorts of things and could actually surpass their classmates. You know, it's not some kind of horrible death sentence where everybody with autism is rocking in a corner screaming. There is a charity called Autism Speaks who use a blue puzzle piece that you'll probably hear a lot of, or a lot about, during this month, and you'll also hear a lot of people saying how they can go suck a dick. Now, the main problem with them is that they tend to talk about autism as being some form of problem, and basically say that all the sympathy needs to go to parents and carers of people with autism, because their lives are going to be so hard and unfulfilling. And, you know, that's awful just to categorise a whole group of people as a problem. The worst form of this is a video they put out which shows a former vice president of NBC and then executive vice president of Autism Speaks talking about how she wanted to drive herself and her autistic daughter off of a bridge to commit suicide, and she did this in front of her daughter. Now, if anyone suffers from understanding or conveying empathy, it's a mother who can sit in the very same room her daughter is and talk about how that daughter made her think about killing herself and killing that daughter without thinking, maybe this isn't a good idea. I also briefly want to talk about Sesame Street, because Sesame Street now has an autistic Muppet. For a start, Sesame Street have had Autism Speaks logos on the end of episodes and connections to them, which I think is a bad move on the behalf of Sesame Street. I mean, if you're going to get into bed with some form of charity, actually do some research into it and look at the way the river's flowing. If you can see how many people hate this charity, why would you want to get into bed with them? There's plenty of other charities that they could have connected to. Now, on the one hand, I like that there is an autistic puppet or muppet, whichever you want to say it. For those that don't know, Sesame Street is made by the Jim Henson Workshop, the people that make the Muppets, so they're essentially Muppets, okay? But anyway, they have an autistic character, and you see her traits and her issues, and I do think, in a way, this is a good thing, but I think they have to do a lot of work to make sure that they frequently say that this autistic character is showing some traits that some autistic people will show. We don't want kids to think that every single child they ever meet or adult they ever meet that is autistic will have all of the things this Julia has. This Julia is very uncommunicative, has to have other characters talk for her a lot. which is no bad thing. There are some people like that, but I think it needs to be clarified that she is based on some autistic traits shown by some autistic people, and that we can't take her as a giant template for the whole of what autism is. If by any chance you're a parent that's come along this video and you're listening to me and you've got a child with autism and you're wondering about what their life's going to be like, take it from somebody with autism. Yeah, some things might be confusing or might be difficult for them, but depending upon how on the spectrum they are, more than likely they'll find some kind of coping mechanisms and they'll find a way to navigate the world. In my case, you know, I've had lots of jobs, I've been a manager, I have a degree, and yes, it's made a few things awkward, but I wouldn't say it's held me back. Basically, if you have anybody autistic in your life and you want to help them, don't think that they are some poor, misfortunate degenerate who needs definite care and to be treaded around on tiptoes. If you want to understand more about autism, talk to them about their autism. Talk to them about how it influences and affects them. Learn about the quirks they have and the way it basically affects their day-to-day life, and just treat them like a person. Treat them like an individual, and remember that they are not just autistic. They are a person. They are a bloke or a woman who has this, that, this and the other, these interests, these feelings, and autism is just one of the many things that makes them who they are. Anyway, I hope this has been useful to somebody, and that's basically all I'm going to say on it. Cat's Kerr9000 signing off, saying have a nice day.